and Sabrina, this was another part of the discussion that we were talking about earlier, where I get where people who are in our community, um, you know, technically can break down how, by definition, they're not a leftist. I get that, or the left. They're not leftists. I don't think they claim that, but they do say the left. So, but in a world where we're promoting people to kind of define yourself, and I gave an example of like, even, our trans brothers and sisters, the fight is, them being themselves and being able to determine who they are. You get what I'm saying? So why can't we take uh who we call, the old left, for their word? If they call themselves progressives or leftists or whatever, we just call them that. Can you kind of speak to that point, or speak to that concept or that idea?
Because one of the things I noticed, like after Biden won, for some of them, their rhetoric started to change. All of a
Mm.
sudden, they wanted to, like, promote Joe Biden, which I said, again, this is not a good idea. Before he'd even started doing anything, their rhetoric started to change. They were like, well, we should commend Joe Biden. I don't think most of them have been critical of the squad in the way that they should have been. I think they've given them too many passes. But again, they are not going to be heavily critical of them, because then that means that they're not going to have access to them.
Access.
They still want to have them come on their shows. Nina Turner
Mhm.
was just on Majority Report, I think about a week ago. So
Mhm.
they still want to have access to those politicians. And in order to have that access, you can't really overly criticize them. You can critique them here and there, but you still have to present to your audience that they're still going to fight for us, and you should still support them. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Now we have another election year, and now they're asking people again, donate to these new progressive Democrats.
Right. Yeah. And I had Hector on my show yesterday, and this is the very point that he was making. These people are different. And it was so weird because he was saying we, because I was, the first thing I was like, well, look at the progressives who are in office now. Like, why would these new ones be different? He was like, don't base what this strategy is off of the progressives who are in Congress now. And I'm like, well, like, who else, what other evidence do we have to look to as far as getting these people in? So basically, he's basically describing where we need to have faith that these new people are going to stick to their word in a way that others have not, like AOC saying, oh, I'm not going to vote for Pelosi, and then she ends up doing it. So it's hard. It's like, because we know a lot of the candidates who are running. Some of them were at our general strike, even during strike summit, and they're not. It's not a critique. This is what I said yesterday. It's not a critique on you as a person. It's just the team you're joining. I can't, support that. But what are your thoughts, JB? Go ahead.
Yeah,
It looks like you were
there's
going to
some
say
people
something.
there's some people who I like, but the thing is that they're running for the Democratic Party, so I really can't support them. And look, I'm poor. I'm poor. I don't have time to go that route. That's the thing that people don't understand. I got to reapply for my food stamps, and they're going to cut my food stamps down because I only get $30. And they're going to cut it down because of that little 5% increase in disability money that I just got. Look, I live in the hood. This is not like, you guys may see me on YouTube, but I still live in the hood. 32839. That's Val Demings, and not the nice part of Val Demings district. I live in the part where Orange County, Sheriff's Department is out here all the time. And so I was like, I can't wait. My boyfriend doesn't have health care. What about him? What about my brother? My brother is literally homeless right now. Like I look, if something were to happen to my disability, I'd be homeless now. Like I don't have the luxury of waiting. And I do like what Sabby said. The thing is that there's a class divide, and it's like And I understand that they want to do it. And the thing is that it's not like they don't want to do it. It's just that they want to go about it slower. And we can't afford slower.
Mhm.
This planet can't afford slower. And I think that's one of the things. It's like, it's like, for instance, I haven't been to the dentist since I was 12. I need to go to the dentist. And thank goodness I got to get off my ass and use my Medicaid. But but even with that, that's limiting, and so you can only do so much. And those of us who are poor, it's like, it's almost like, it's like the house is burning on fire and they got a squirt gun and they're like, all we guys do is just squirt some more. Just keep squirting and we'll eventually put the fire out. And we're like, no, get the fucking, big ass hose.
The biggest hose you can get, yeah.
Break open a fire hydrant and spray it on that motherfucker. Because guess what? We're burning out here. And it feels like they're trying to spray a burning house with, and the progressives are trying to spray it maybe with a super soaker. But what good is that going to do? And that's what it feels like. And so many of us are in either my situation or an even worse situation. And we're just it's frustrating because it's just like walking behind, it's like,
do we have to do the same thing? Do we have, like we were talking about this earlier, but let's bring Sabrina in. Do we have to, Sabrina, in order to be in coalition, be doing the same thing? Like, do we have to? So we're not necessarily talking about the people in the thumbnail, but just the people who are willing to vote for Democratic Party, who have our beliefs. Do we have to do the same thing in order to be in coalition? Like, can they go ahead and vote in progressives and we go ahead and do our direct action can that work? Or, and I said this earlier, or is it we need more people to successfully do the things we want to do, and they need more people to successfully do the things they want to do, meaning, elect, non-corporate. They can't elect them without us. And I think Nina Turner is kind of an example of that. And we absolutely need more people willing to do direct action, willing to protest, willing to do these things. So we need people too. So, if you could kind of marry, those two together, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I'm just going to say this. The other night, there was a stream. Katie Halper did a stream with two candidates. And I'm just going to tell you the live chat comments. It was really hard to find a positive comment. I think this is a breaking point. I think this is a dividing line. And I think it's again, I think it's coming down to a class issue. We are in a different situation than we were in 2015. Like, this type of rhetoric in 2015 put progressives through. Times were different back then. Like, now we have a pandemic. A lot of people are unemployed, unhoused, like things are worse economically. So now we have people who are part of the class divide, the working class. A lot of us are just like, no, we're not going to do this anymore. I gave money to AOC. I gave money to Bernie Sanders. A lot of us, a part of the working class, canvassed for the squad and canvassed for people like Bernie Sanders. The people that you're seeing on these large platforms, most of them did not. And that's what they don't understand. Like, they didn't really go out and do any type of work. So for those of us who put all this energy and physical work into it and donate our money to them, I'm sorry, I don't have money to give to another progressive candidate anymore. I just can't do it. I knew people that gave their last $10, their last $5 to help get Bernie Sanders elected. And it's just, that's what they don't seem to understand. And then to hear Sam Cedar, when he's debating Jackson Hinkle, say, I did not donate to AOC, and to say that he doesn't care, that should be a wake-up call to anyone watching this show. They told us to do these things. They told us to donate to them, and they told us to go out there and help volunteer and canvass for them. Meanwhile, they sat at home. So no, I'm not giving my money to those candidates. So in reference to them doing their thing and us doing our thing and still having coalition together, based on the comments that I saw in that live stream, I think we're already past that point.
We're past that. Wow.
Can
you kind of
together.
talk about those comments a little more? Do you like they were? Were the comments like bad about the Democrats or those specific candidates on the show?
It wasn't about the candidates on the show. It was about the strategy, about putting progressives through the Democratic Party. And the comments were so like to the point, like at one point I had to stop watching because I kind of felt bad for them because it's not about the individual candidates that are running, you guys.
Right.
Like I've interviewed a lot of those people. I think they all have good intentions and they mean well.
They're good people.
The problem is the system that they are going into is designed in a way for them to fail. It is not designed for them to succeed. This is why the squad doesn't do anything. This is why they don't push back. So everybody says they're a good person and they have these great ideas before they get in. But then once they get in, they're corrupted too. It's the system. So my question that I have for Hector when he was on yesterday is, if you know that the money is the problem, the money is what's causing the corruption, is there any strategy to get the money out, or is there any strategy to prevent this from happening in the future? Because all these people were saying Nina Turner lost because all this dark money came in, but you know that is going to happen. So what is the strategy to fix the money problem? And I don't hear them talking about that.
Hang on. Just to put in a fact. Nina Turner actually outspent Chantel Brown.
There you go.
So she had the money. So that wasn't really the issue. It was more of, it's like, how did Bernie Sanders do so well, but then, Nina Turner didn't? And the thing is that part of it was because, it's like you're willing to water yourself down in order to try to appeal to those people, versus it's like, no, you should double down instead in order to appeal to the people who are poor, because they'll come out, and so that's what it feels like. Because to be honest with you, Nina Turner actually had more money than Chantel Brown.
But they didn't mention that. You see what I'm saying? Like they have the largest like audiences, so their message is getting out to more people, and they're not telling the whole story. And that it's really disappointing. It's really frustrating because at that point, then I might as well just watch mainstream media. But tell the truth, tell the whole truth. Be critical. Like when they mess up, mention that they mess up. I criticized things about Bernie Sanders' campaign. I said there were some things that I felt like he messed up with not having a reparations plan. I was vocal about that. Like, don't be afraid to criticize them just because you're afraid they're not going to come onto your show. And I think now, with the exception of Crystal and Kyle's show, they don't go onto anyone's show anymore except for Majority Report and TYT. So you had all these left independent media platforms that propped them up and gave them attention. And then once they got in office, they were like, okay, bye, peace.